The film opens with a woman who has a plump body named Hetty. Her life is quite perfect, a successful career and a happy family. The warmth of the family is seen when Christmas arrives. Hetty invites relatives to come to celebrate Christmas at her house. She also has a husband named John, who loves his family and Hetty very much. Not only relatives, Hetty also introduces one of her best friends named Joan. She still lives alone and is not married. In her daily life, Hetty works as a theater actress. However, she often feels less confident with her large body shape. Even when on stage, the rope used to make her fly suddenly gets stuck because it is overloaded. This clearly makes her embarrassed and a little disappointed. But fortunately, her husband always comforts her, and he accepts Hetty as she is. The next day, when Hetty was about to go home, her personal driver could not come to work. His position was replaced by another man named John. His name is the same as Hetty's husband, but he is still young and handsome. Along the way, they chatted about each other's problems, and John was known to have a bad relationship. Maybe he was going to get divorced. He had also just lost his child. Hetty felt sorry, but young John still tried to be strong in front of Hetty. Surprisingly, when Hetty arrived at Hetty's house, young John immediately kissed Hetty, which made Hetty feel awkward. Long story short, when Hetty finished work, she met young John again near the shooting location. And it turned out that he officially became the new driver there. He even lived in a caravan near Hetty's work location. Young John invited Hetty to see his caravan. There they chatted for a while, and shortly after that, John immediately seduced Hetty and invited her to make out for the first time. Since that incident, Hetty came to John's caravan more often, and making out continued to happen almost every day. Even young John had dared to come to Hetty's house and play with Hetty's children, seeing that Hetty was really surprised. In the end, young John and old John met and got acquainted. They chatted and asked where John lived. Young John said that he had no place to live. In the end, Hetty's husband invited young John to stay there temporarily. The next day, after making out with Hetty, John moved his belongings to Hetty's house and was ready to live there. The first day living there, young John felt very comfortable. But Hetty couldn't sleep. She decided to meet young John and asked him to repeat the incident that they had often done. Day by day, Hetty couldn't control herself and was trapped in this situation. Even Joan felt suspicious of the two of them, a young man living there, and Hetty was so close to him. There must be something wrong between them. But a few days later, when Hetty's husband was about to leave, but not long after he returned home because there was something left behind, John tried to find Hetty, but couldn't find her anywhere. In the end, old John found Hetty making out with John. Old John was really disappointed with Hetty, while Hetty was really panicked and scared if old John left her. Hetty tried to apologize to her husband, and because John didn't want to lose Hetty, he forgave Hetty. Strangely enough, he didn't kick young John out of there. He even told him not to hurt Hetty. Even old John was willing to give his room to young John, while he preferred to sleep in the guest room. Although he looked strong, old John was really disappointed, but he didn't want to lose Hetty, whom he still loved. Even though every night he always heard horror sounds from the main room, you know what he meant. Old John still tried to smile every day. Some time later, Hetty and the two Johns went to the theater, where Hetty would appear in a new play that told the story of her life. The script she submitted to the director was approved, and the story in the show reflected Hetty's life journey and the people who loved her. Her husband was also in the role, which made young John jealous of her. He even dared to say that Hetty loved him more than John. But old John didn't care and didn't think too much about it. The days went by hard for old John. He had to see Hetty always with young John. Until finally they talked about something serious. John decided to really separate from Hetty. They told their children. But they will still communicate well, and separate in a good way. A few days later, Joan was seen close to old John, and apparently they had a relationship. Hetty seemed a little regretful about this. The trial has been completed and they have officially separated. Hetty is now with John and John is now with Joan, and they said they will soon get married. Even though Hetty's heart is sad, she realizes that all of this is the result of her mistake, and they will remain friends and maintain good communication. Until a few years later, Hetty was left by the young John for another woman, while the old John lived happily with Joan. And the film ended.